Welcome to the Bates Motel, where there is always a vacancy. Except inside Norman Bates' mind, because that is always full to the brim. Let's get started. Ba-da-ba-ba-da-ba-ba. Hello folks, welcome back to Oktoberfest here on Thumb Together. My name is Andrew Fantasia, and today we are talking about, once again, one of my favorite horror movies of all time, and we are going right into the thick of things with the Alfred Hitchcock movie, Psycho. Psycho is one of those movies that I think every human being just knows exists. It's that popular. Every human being knows that there's this story about a guy named Norman Bates who runs a motel called Bates Motel, and people go over to stay at Bates Motel, and it usually doesn't end well for them, and there's a killer running around with a knife going and stabbing people. That is just a famous thing. In fact, I almost didn't want to talk too much about it because I didn't want to have spoilers in this video, but then I thought, okay, Psycho is so old now. It was made in 1960, so I'm pretty sure everybody on the planet, even if they haven't seen the movie, everybody pretty much knows exactly what is going on in Psycho. And when I was rewatching it for this review, I had to stop and tell myself, I had to say, listen, there is a reason that Psycho is so well known and well liked. There's a reason it became as popular as it did. And that reason is straight up as simple as this, guys. In 1960, you didn't get movies that were as clever or as well plotted out as Psycho. That movie is so good at what it does that it could have come out today and it would have fit in perfectly. Except for maybe the final scene where the doctor just explains everything in a big monologue. All of Psycho feels as good as a modern movie made by somebody like Christopher Nolan. It feels like it has all the right twists and turns, all the right story beats, all the right emotional beats, all the right acting and character work. The acting is phenomenal in this. Everything is just firing on all cylinders in Psycho, and that was part of the wonder of Hitchcock's movies. Janet Leigh and Anthony Perkins are both terrific actors, and they shine through in this in every scene that they're in. Now, the first point I want to make here is that there's such a great slow build to Psycho. Yes, we know, because of how famous it is, we all know it's going to end up at the Bates Motel, but it takes us a while to get there, doesn't it? We take a lot of time establishing Janet Leigh's character, finding out what her deal is, finding out that she is living a very troubled life as it is, and then she does something that, let's be honest, is kind of psychotic while also being kind of awesome. She does something that we wish we all could do. She breaks free of her societal trappings and just runs off with a hefty amount of money that does not belong to her. Part of us is thinking like, that's what I want to do. Like, that is what you need to do. That is how you live your life. But another part of us is seeing the way she's acting and how paranoid she becomes and how she's being followed by cops. And we're just like, okay, this lady is kind of a psycho too. She should not have stolen that money. This is only going to end badly for her. What is she thinking? She must be crazy. So it turns our lead hero character on her head, where we don't know whether to root for her or not. She comes across as a psycho, and maybe because we are flip-flopping like that, we feel like we might come across as psychos too. The film is wrapping everybody, not just the killer, it's wrapping everybody under a bow with Psycho written all over it, and we just have to sit back and let that wash over us. Because yeah, there's more than one way to be crazy. Not every psychopathic person is going to take out their frustrations with a knife. And that's the beauty that's underneath all of the layers of Psycho. That's the subtext that I think is running through this movie like a river underneath a cave. And if you listen carefully, you can hear the water trickling. Psycho also does a great job of masking its final solution, of masking the twist. Whenever I watch movies that I love, because I'm weird like this, I like to pretend sometimes that I'm watching it with a person who hasn't seen it and thinking, I wonder if they would like this part, or I wonder if they would hate this character. And during Psycho, because it's got such a mystery flowing through it, I was asking myself, I wonder if this person would guess who the actual killer is. There's not a huge list of suspects, so I feel like it would be easy to figure it out. But of course, everything seems easy and simple when you already know the answer. But a funny thing happened, because as I was watching, things were happening in the movie where I'm like, oh, okay, if that person was sitting next to me and they didn't know the solution, those little things would throw them off the scent. Every time something happened that would point an obvious finger at the right party, something else would happen to be like, oh, but it could also be this other person because of this. So nothing ever felt like there was no glaring arrows pointing directly at the actual killer. And I loved that so much about Psycho. This is not just a masterwork of horror or of suspense or of mystery. This is just a masterwork of film, period. There were a couple of sequels that I never saw, but from what I heard, this is just what I heard through the grapevine, guys, Psycho 2 is supposed to be actually kind of good. I don't know much about its plot, but apparently, yeah, Psycho 2 is supposed to be a really different but really interesting sequel. There's also a Psycho 3, but that apparently is just plain garbage, and you should stay away. Then Vince Vaughn made a remake, and apparently this was a shot-for-shot remake that absolutely nobody asked for and absolutely nobody liked. I haven't seen this either, and I really don't care to. There's just something about the charm of the original Psycho. You don't need to fix what ain't broken, honey. Then a couple years ago, we got a little show called Bates Motel, which was the prequel story to Psycho and told the story of Norman Bates and his mother opening the motel, and it showed kind of the genesis of what was to become the Bates Motel that we know and love. This show was a very strange show. I liked it, but I didn't love it. It seems to be set in every time period all at once. It's trying to be timeless, and it just kind of exists in this weird limbo. And it was a very interesting deconstruction of Norman and his mother and why they are the way they are. But yeah, guys, seriously, stop listening to me, stop watching YouTube, and go watch Psycho if you haven't watched it already. I don't know what you've been doing with your life if you haven't been watching Psycho, but it just needs to be seen because it has to offer quite a lot, and you'll catch new things every time you see it. But that's Psycho. That's Oktoberfest for today. I'm Andrew Fantasia. I'll see you all here next time, and until then, adios.